Okay, Algebra 1, this is the second part on finding slope. In this case, we're going to take a look at how to find slope between points in space without a graph. Okay, so quick review here. We want to remember that when we talk about slope, easy way to remember it is always going to be rise over run. Okay, now one thing we need to know is that it actually does have a formula. We use the variable or the letter m to represent our slope here. But because we don't have a graph here, we need to use a different type of formula. And in this case, we're going to use this formula here. And we define slope as change in y divided by your change in x. Okay? So something to keep in mind is this is the Greek letter delta. And whenever you see it in math, that always means that there's a change in whatever variable we have right next to it. Okay? And because we have two ordered pairs here, we're going to label these as the first point is x1 and then y1. And then we're going to label the second point as x2 and y2. And we're going to use this formula to represent our change. Okay? So in this case, we're going to write it like this. We're going to rewrite our slope formula as m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Because when we talk about a change, we always want to find the difference between our values. That represents how far we're going up and down, left and right. Okay? So all I want to do is replace my y2, y1, x2, and x1 with the values I have defined up here. So we're finding the slope between 11.8 and 10.3. So y2, that gives me 3, minus y1, which is 8, divided by x2, which is 10, minus 11. Now, once again, you want to simplify. You don't want to divide first. You want to add or subtract. Okay, so we want to subtract. We want to simplify the numerator and then simplify the denominator. So 3 minus 8 is negative 5. 10 minus 11 is negative 1. Okay, negative divided by negative is a positive. So we can cancel out those negatives. 5 divided by 1. That's easy to simplify. That gives me a slope of positive 5. Okay. Take a look at another example. Once again, this is just for examples where we don't have a graph and we just have 2 points in space. Let's say I have 1, 7, and 3, 15. Same sort of deal. I want to use that slope formula where I do y2, so 15 minus y1, which is 7, and divided by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is just 1. Simplify numerator and denominator separately. That gives me 8 divided by 2. That means my slope for this line is going to be a positive 4. Okay? And then another example here. Keeping our negative numbers straight here, okay? So I'm going to put the formula for slope up at the top here. So m is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. All right? And then once again, label everything. Oops, not x. That's for the next one. Label everything. Okay, be thorough with your notes when you're labeling these. You don't want to get anything mixed up. Okay, you're the one in control of the math here. All right, so let's go ahead and use this. So when I replace all my variables, x1, y1, x2, y2, I get this. I get negative 3 minus negative 13. Okay, make sure you put that negative 13 in parentheses so you don't get minuses confused. And then 5 minus negative 7. Now remember, when we subtract a negative number, it changes the sign. So we can go ahead and change the minuses and the negatives after that to positives. So I get negative 3 plus 13 divided by 5 plus 7. Okay, so now we can go ahead and simplify. Negative 3 plus 13, that's 10. 5 plus 7 is 12. And because 10 and 12 have a common factor of 2, we can go ahead and divide by 2. On both of these, that gives me m is equal to 5/6. So every time we go up 5, we also have to go right 6 for this particular example. Now, really quick here, let's say, for instance, I throw a curveball at you guys for the last problem. Let's say we have this. I have 2 points. I have 1, 3, and 2, y, where I don't know what y is, but I do know that my slope is positive 5. So we're going to manipulate this slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and we're going to try to manipulate it to get y by itself here. So what I do is I substitute everything I know into the formula. So m is going to be 5, y2 is going to be y, y1 is 3, so y minus 3 is my numerator, and then x2 is 2, and then x1 is 1. Okay? So now right here, I'm going to try to get y by itself. First thing I want to do is simplify if I can. I got a 2 minus 1. That makes this a little bit easier. So I get y minus 3 divided by 1. Okay, and then we know anything divided by 1 doesn't change it. So now I'm left with the equation 5 equals y minus 3. And now we're left with a one-step equation. All I have to do to get y by itself is add 3 to both sides, and I get 8 is equal to y based on the addition property of equality. So now I have the points 2, 1, 3, and 2, 8. And we can go ahead and plug that into our formula. Let's see here. So 8 minus 3 divided by 2 minus 1. That gives me 5 over 1 again. And that's the same slope we started with. Okay. So one more type of problem that we can find the slope with based on points, and that'll be coming up in the next video. Stay tuned.